And my old man reminded me of a really good quote regarding the Conor McGregor fight, saying, the great Marvin Hagler, saying that it's hard to get up for road work at 5 a.m. when you've been sleeping in silk pajamas. Is the Conor McGregor multi-million-dollar empire as fierce as it once was?
I don't know. That's a simple answer to your question, Lance. We don't know. You're right. Conor McGregor's probably not sleeping in silk sheets. Probably has a silk bed, silk everything for Conor McGregor. He's earned so much money in the last couple of fights against Khabib Nurmagomedov, against Floyd Mayweather. Are we going to see the same Conor McGregor from 2014 to 2016? The guy that knocked Jose Aldo out in 13 seconds. The guy that got the rematch victory against Nate Diaz. The guy that beat Eddie Alvarez to become the champ, as he coined the phrase. We don't know. We'll soon find out.
Where do you regard Conor McGregor as someone who follows this intensely? You are an expert. Has he got too much credit in the bank? I mean, the guy hasn't won a fight for over 1,000 days, yet he's the clear favourite.
There's credit in the bank. That credit is depleting day by day, or with Conor year by year. This guy hasn't won a fight since November 2016 against Eddie Alvarez. I mean, 2016, we're in 2020 and he's not won a fight in nearly 3.5 years. But he deserves the credit. He done so much for the sport. I mean, take away the fighting side of it, just the financial side of it. He showed people you can earn up to 1 million and more in the sport. And I think a lot of fighters need to give him credit for that. But in terms of fighting, I mean, look, some great wins. Nate Diaz, I just mentioned, great fight. There probably will be a trilogy down the line. Eddie Alvarez to become champ. And Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo wasn't beaten for, I think it was 9 or 10 years. And he stopped him in 13 seconds.
That was the pinnacle, wasn't it?
That was.
It was just immense. And I mean, there is talk that Conor could do that against Cowboy.
He can, but I guess the only thing with Cowboy is that, again, this fight's at 170 pounds as well. Cowboy, a lot more experience, can take a bit more punishment. And I guess the surprise factor's gone. When he done that to Jose Aldo, everyone was like, wow. I mean, where's this come from? Everyone knows about that left hand now. We saw it against Khabib. If anything, Khabib landed a left hand with him, so it's not a surprise factor anymore. I think they are practicing for that left hand. I guess how much can you practice for it, we'll soon find out. But I don't think it's a surprise anymore, and I wouldn't be shocked if this one goes into later rounds.
Absolutely, and Cowboy's saying cardio is my thing, cardio is my game. I'll go the distance, no problem. Yeah. If you're in Cowboy's camp, how do you approach? I mean, I think you briefly answered that in the last question, saying move around, don't slug it out.
Yeah.
How do you approach this fight with Conor?
The good thing for Cowboy is that he can win this fight more ways than Conor can. And we've mentioned Conor's left hand a couple of times there. That's really all he has. And that's no disrespect to him because it's a great left hand, but Cowboy can do a few more things. He can submit you. He's got 17 victories by submission in the UFC, which is one of the highest in the UFC. He's a great kickboxer as well. He can strike with Conor. He's got good hands as well. So he can win this fight 2 or 3 different ways. Conor can only win it 1. So he's got to look at that. He's got to think that I don't want to stand and have a boxing match with this. It's not a boxing match. Let me use my kicks. Let me take it to the ground. Let me wrestle him a bit. He can wrestle. There's a bit of a wrestling background there as well with Cowboy. So he's got 3 or 4 different ways. Conor has 1. The only problem is Conor's 1 is very, very good, whereas Cowboy's 3 or 4 are just, I guess, not B level, whereas Conor's left hand is definitely A-star level.
Where did it all go so wrong for Conor McGregor in the last few years? The Floyd fight? Was that a turning point?
I think you probably have to go back to the Nate Diaz loss. Where you think you can't lose, you're not going to lose, and then you do lose. And the way he lost in terms of being submitted and being tapped out, everyone was like, they started calling him Conor the Tapper. He came back well, got the victory against Nate Diaz, but people started to see chinks in the armour there. I think what happened with the Floyd fight is that he almost earned too much money, which is ridiculous, right? These guys should be in there to earn money, but he earned too much money, and then he lost the hunger. And once you lose the hunger for this sport, it's difficult to fight guys that have an extreme amount of hunger, as we saw in the fight against Khabib.
And I think that is in Conor's mind as well, the hunger. You said about the Khabib fight, clearly the hunger wasn't as good as it has been in the past. How can it be when you're making so much money?
Yeah.
How does he get that hunger back?
I think the problem for Conor is that it's not just hunger. I mean, is he good enough? I mean, a lot of these fighters have evolved. I mean, we're going to probably touch on Khabib in a minute. Khabib can do everything. I mean, he can punch, he can take you to the ground, he can submit you, he can wrestle you. I mean, there's video footage of Khabib wrestling bears. I mean, not sparring partners, real bears. I mean, Tony Ferguson's out there as well. All these guys, whilst Conor's been sleeping in these silk sheets, have evolved. They've gone to training every single day. They've got better every single day. Conor McGregor really hasn't got better since he beat Jose Aldo.
But that Khabib thing is stuck with him, hasn't it? Because He was manhandled. He says he almost won a few rounds.
I failed to see those rounds. I've watched that fight about 20 times. I don't even see a minute. And that's not being disrespectful to Conor. I'm a massive Conor McGregor fan, but I just think Khabib was just far too good. And that must hurt you when you think you're that good and someone, as you say, manhandles you the way Khabib manhandled
Quite
Conor.
literally manhandled.
Manhandled him, ragdolled him, I think the phrases they've used. That must hurt him a lot.
And the way Conor spoke in that fight, I think, or the lead up to that fight, I think that upset a lot of people,
Yeah.
Including myself. I was a bit shocked. I thought personally he crossed the line. I think he offended over 1 billion Muslim people with his derogatory remarks about Khabib's religion, Khabib's way of life, calling him a rat as well.
His wife as well.
His wife. I mean, that was the worst tweet I think I've ever seen from a sportsman. And we still side with Conor McGregor. Dana White says it's only trash talk. Does the UFC have a bigger responsibility to take with stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just the UFC, boxing as well. There seems to be this one rule for fighters in terms of you can do this to sell the tickets, to sell the pay-per-views, and another rule for other sports people. There's also one rule for Conor McGregor. Not just what he said about Khabib's religion, which was ridiculous. I mean, he went to New York through a bus. Through a dolly through the bus. I mean, he went far too far. And I don't think that was a case of selling tickets. I don't think that was a case of selling pay-per-views or trash talk. That was hatred. It was full-out hatred. No, I think we saw a different Conor. A lot of people in America, not just Muslims, a lot of people in America wanted Khabib to win because, again, you've just taken it too far. And I don't know if right now we're on a kind of repair, rebuild job with Conor. I think we are. I think he's trying to say the right things. But people don't forget. People remember what you said before. And I think his star is starting to dim a little bit. It's not what it was 4 years ago. We used to love Conor's press conferences. They were fun. They were energetic. But he didn't cross the line. I think with Khabib, he's completely crossed the line. I don't know where it came from. Khabib's not the type of person to say outrageous things. He'll retaliate, obviously. As a man, he's going to retaliate. But
he's one of the least likely.
He's one of the least likely. That's why the UFC don't really push him, because he doesn't sell fights. He doesn't say things like that. He's very respectful. When you speak to or listen to fellow UFC fighters, and they always talk about how respectful Khabib is.
Just let's finish quickly on Conor McGregor. One thing about this fight that I think you can answer, which is quite imperative, seeing as Conor hasn't won in over 1,000 days,
that's crazy. Just
crazy.
That stat alone is crazy. Yeah.
And yet he's this, god of the sport. If he were to lose, is that it?
Depends how. This is it. It depends how. If he loses by getting knocked out, then that's probably it. And I think he'll probably admit that that's it as well. If he loses by a controversial decision, they'll rerun it again.
If you're Dana White, the reality is, if Conor does win this, don't set him up with Khabib next.
No. You want to build that. You honestly want to build it for the back end of 2020. Get the other fights. Get a Nate Diaz trilogy in there. Get a Masvidal, and let's set something up. Maybe in Russia, Conor versus Khabib 2021 would be not just the biggest UFC fight, but one of the biggest fights, and I'm including boxing into this ever.
It'll be enough for you to get rid of the silk pajamas, get on
silk
the suit,
pajamas,
and off you go.
Absolutely. Honestly, it will be epic.
Thanks for your time, man.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.